Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today, I'm proud to speak in support of H.R. 2601, the National Human Trafficking Hotline Enhancement Act. This legislation requires that tips received through the hotline are timely shared with law enforcement agencies, which will help protect victims and combat human trafficking. Since introducing this bill in April, my office has had meetings with stakeholders, congressional offices, the operator of the hotline, and others to help enhance the efficacy of the hotline's process. I'm grateful to have endorsements from the Fraternal Order of Police, the Florida Sheriff's Association, and the American Hotel and Lodging Association who favor this bill. The National Human Trafficking Hotline was established in the Trafficking Victim Protections Act of 2000. The purpose of the hotline is to take tips about potential situations involving sex and labor trafficking and to report information to specialized trafficking task forces, federal authorities, local law enforcement, and service providers throughout the country. The hotline has provided more than 15,000 tips to law enforcement since its inception. Since 2007, an entity called Polaris has been the sole operator of the hotline. Recently, Polaris has shifted its focus away from serving as a tip line and instead decided to act as a resource hub for survivors. This is contrary to congressional intent and agency guidance and undermines law enforcement efforts to combat human trafficking. They should be both a resource for survivors and operating a tip line. On February 27th, a bipartisan group of 36 attorneys general from around the country sent a letter to congressional leadership raising concerns about the hotline operator failing to report tips to law enforcement and failing to provide timely information. These attorney generals asked Congress to take action. My office worked closely with them to draft this legislation, which will ensure that law enforcement is given access to the information that they need. The National Human Trafficking Enhancement Act clarifies that law enforcement agencies must be notified of tips that are communicated to the hotline and that the hotline must serve as a tip line as originally intended. Additionally, I plan on offering an amendment today that makes clear that a survivor who contacts the hotline may remain anonymous should they choose. As a former prosecutor and judge in Florida who spent many years investigating and prosecuting human trafficking cases, I know firsthand how devastating this crime can be to survivors and their families, and also how vital it is that tips from business owners, teachers, and the community, as well as survivors, are timely shared with the men and women of law enforcement who work tirelessly to recover survivors and stop perpetrators. This bipartisan bill enjoys the support of numerous members on the committee on both sides of the aisle. I am proud to be part of a broad coalition of our members, and I ask my colleagues to join me in supporting this crucial piece of legislation.
Gentlelady yields back. The chair now recognizes the ranking member, Mr. Nadler, for an opening statement.